All right, so 18 candidates contend, but who replaces President Buhari on Saturday? Hello and thank you very much for watching. I'm Emmanuel Kodia. Well, Nigerians will visit the polls on Saturday, 25th of February, to elect new executives, including the president, members of Senate, and House representatives. Well, according to a report, 3 candidates stand a chance to win the presidency: Mr. Obi, Mr. Tinubu, and Mr. Abubakar. All right, so let's find out more about this election from Omo Gbenga, a Nigerian. Hello and good to have you on the show. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you so much. I'm doing good today. And how are you doing too?
By grace. Thank you for asking. First of all, let's start with the mood in Nigeria. What is the mood in Nigeria ahead of the election on Saturday? Nigerians are ready, aren't they?
Oh, okay. So, speaking to the mood in Nigeria as at this current dispensation, I would say categorically that the mood in Nigeria is highly pressurized. There's a whole lot of expectations, and I would say it's also characterized by fear, because of the polity itself. And, within, and also, if you also look at it, you can also say the mood in the country as we speak, amidst what's going on. I mean, there's high inflation in Nigeria. Inflation as we speak for today is like 22%. There is shortage of cash. There's high unemployment rates. So this election is actually characterized by a whole lot of factors, and it's really making people to be much more concerned, and people are kind of putting their hopes high on this election. Like, a whole lot of people that I know wants to come out en masse, to vote. So people are kind of eager, to see the outcome of this election and also to go to the polls.
I just read online that Nigerians are on curfew. Some states in Nigeria are on curfew. Can you speak to us a little bit more about that?
I didn't get what you said. It wasn't clear.
States in Nigeria are experiencing curfew.
Hello? That there are some coffee in some states in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't have a first-hand information on that, so I don't think there's any curfew in Nigeria as we speak. Probably maybe it's been declared because of the elections, but I really cannot speak to that. All I just know is that um, there's an heavy presence of the military in some states, in Nigeria, especially in Lagos. Um, Military has been deployed, to those zones. So, talking about curfew, I really do not know about that.
So would you say this election is the most important election in the history of Nigerians, or even a critical one?
Yes, this election is a very, very critical election in Nigerian democracy as we speak. The reason why I actually said so is because when you look at the elections that we've had in Nigeria over time, since inception of democracy in 1999, this is the first time we are actually seeing that all of the candidates, none of them are incumbent, none of them are also military leaders. I mean, maybe ex-military leaders, unlike the present president that is there. He happens to be a general, So this election is actually strictly civilian, because when you look at from the contenders, you will see that they don't have any military background. They are strictly civilian, and also there is no incumbent in this election, and one other things that you also notice about this election is that, unlike in time past, it's usually between a ruling party and the opposition, more or less. Like, it's, yeah, we have some other political parties, but they are not as heavy as the two political parties that we've seen in the last election, like the PDP and the APC, So, because of the fact that it's not the usual business anymore, whereby you have two top contenders, belonging to the two major political parties, and they are contesting for election. But now, there's a bit more plurality in the election as we speak. And the reason why I said so is, now we have APC, and the flag bearer for APC is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and we have PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and now we have a third force. We also even have a fourth force. We also even have a fifth force. Yeah. So now it's no more so it's no more this singularity that we see. There's plurality in the electoral process now. At least Nigeria should be thankful to people like Obi, Peter Obi, to people like Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, to people like Omo Showore, for even bringing, diverse option in this present election, because Nigerians are, desirous to see a change. I mean, when you look at the past 8 years, it has been so horrible in Nigeria. High unemployment rate, standing at about 33%. I mean, that's a whole lot. You have inflation. As we speak, inflation is about 22%, and now you even have shortage of cash. I mean, so people are, not happy about the ruling class, so to speak, the present administration, which is the APC-led administration. People are not, so comfortable about all the policies they've rolled out, so many times that you expect the president to use, executive orders. The administration has been marred by a whole lot of corruption, especially, I don't know if you've heard about the corruption that happened in the oil and gas sector, whereby people were stealing crude for a whole lot of years. And as we speak, nobody has been brought to book. I mean, where on earth will people be stealing crude and you can't even account for it? I mean, what's up? I mean, I did not hear that somebody was fired, in those saga. I did not hear that somebody was being taken to court, I mean, so those kind of things that are going on in Nigeria is now making a whole lot of people, to want to be part of this election. I mean, it will interest you to know that we have about 93 million registered voters in Nigeria. I mean, I can give you an interesting data about these 93 million of people that are going to vote. I mean, of those 93 million, the youth are a chunk of it. I mean, so they've all gone to get their PVC, and they are actually ready, to go en masse so as to vote in this coming election on Saturday.
Okay, so Mr. Omo, you were talking of Nigerians should be thankful to Mr. Obi. Is it sounding like, Mr. Obi would take the lead in this election? Is it sounding like he's a favorite now for, Nigeria?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm not even saying that Obi will eventually win the election. But what I'm trying to say is that we've now had, choices to make among candidates. I mean, yes, Obi has really brought, a whole lot of eye-opening into the campaign, into the fact that he has always been attacking the issues, whenever there has been town hall meetings, and he has, and he has actually laid down his programs for Nigerians, So we also have Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso as well, too. I mean, you can also relegate Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso because he's also a force in the north, and he's also somebody who has been long in the political space of Nigeria. We also have Omoyele Sowore, so he has also been an activist for so long, even alongside with Bola Tinubu, So we also have Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So this election is going to be a very, very tight election with the way I'm saying it, because there are a whole lot of people who are saying, oh, they want, freshness in governance. I mean, we've had a whole lot of the old folks, manage, our governance, and there has not been any change up until now. So people are now yearning for, newness, yearning for agility in, in governance. We don't want to maintain the status quo. So, and that's exactly what Obi is selling, to the general public.
Okay. So you were mentioning some names of the candidates. I don't know if you agree with this report I read online that 3 of the 18 candidates contending stand a chance to win: Mr. Bola Tinubu, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, and Mr. Peter Obi. Do you agree with this report?
Okay, so the report that you read talked about the fact that there are 3 leading contendants in this election, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. There are actually 3 of them, and those are the names that I mentioned. For APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who happened to be a former governor of Lagos State. He actually governed Lagos State was from 1999 to 2007, if I'm not mistaken, for 8 years, I governed Lagos State. So he is the front runner for APC. We also have Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who had also been in government before. In fact, he was the vice president when PDP was in power in 1999, when the democracy started in Nigeria for 1999. So he was the vice president to Olusegun Obasanjo. Then we have Peter Obi, who also interestingly happens to be a former governor of Anambra State. So those are the 3 major contenders, but we also have others. We also have Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso too. So he is also a force, but I don't know why his name was not even mentioned. That I mean, we should even have like 4 top contenders, or I would say 5 top contenders in this present election, as far as I'm concerned.
Big question about free and fair election. Do you think Nigerians can hold up to this election being free and fair with what you were saying? The fear in the country and the youth coming out to vote. How are Nigerians even holding up to in this regard, having a free and fair election? Because every country and every citizen, every person voting really looks up to an election being free and fair. There wouldn't be any form of election being rigged or a fraud in the election, or even some irregularities in the election. So how are Nigerians holding up?
Okay, so as a matter of fact, before now, I would say that Nigerians really do not believe that their votes count, because then the electoral process is usually characterized by a lot of violence, ballot snatching, rigging, figures are being hijacked and all of those. And this is just because the process was all round analog. It wasn't electronic kind of voting process. But for now, it's not really a fully electronic voting process, but at least we have some electronic means infused into this electoral process with the use of the beavers. So I don't know if you've heard about the beavers. So the beavers are actually machines in which to authenticate a registered voter before they can actually, vote. It will authenticate and it will also accredit. I mean, the beavers, as far as I'm concerned, is a measures that have been put in place so that the election is going to be free and fair. And I think that's the major reason why a whole lot of people, a whole lot of students, a whole lot of youth, a whole lot of housewives, a whole lot of farmers, a whole lot of artisans actually went out, to INEC to, get their PVC to be registered for these elections, because we had about 93 million people that are registered to vote come Saturday. So that's really a big deal, although that is not even, compared to the total the population of Nigeria is about, about 220 million, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean that's a big deal compared to the last election, whereby we had about maybe 87 million, people that are registered, but now people came en masse, they have registered, they've collected their PVC, and they are ready because they believe that their vote will count. Because one thing that I know about Nigerians is, if it was still the popular notion that, oh, your votes don't count, people would not even go en masse to go register and to go collect their PVC, But the interesting part of it is this. Now, because Nigeria is divided into 6 geopolitical zones, I mean, my own worry is for the southern part of Nigeria, because the southern part of Nigeria, from record, do not really come out to vote on the day of elections, despite the fact that most of them believe that, oh, this present election is going to be free and fair. I do not, in my own humble opinion, see it different from, what we have been seeing in time past, because I know that a whole lot of people aren't going to come out in the South to come vote, Yeah, they might have their PVC and all of that, yet they might be clamoring for, a change in the system, but I don't see them translating, those agitations that we see online, those campaigns that we see online and all of that, translating them into, physical votes. A whole lot of the vote is still going to come from northern Nigeria, because
why are the people in the southern area not coming out to vote during the election? Why?
One thing I would say is, number one, people are scared of their life. Like, I stayed in Lagos all my life. So there are some places in Lagos whereby, because of the fact that, in Nigeria, life, security, are really not like what we see in the Western world. So people are always scared about their life. And, there's always voter apathy. People are like, oh, well, it's none of my business and all of those. They would rather stay at home and watch Netflix, or perhaps maybe play football on the road, or some people will just stay at home. I mean, dine and wine with their family and stick to the TV to get, the result. And the major reason is just because of fear. People are just scared, that there might be violence. And, if there's violence, anybody can, lose their life, just like we see in time past. So that's one of the major reasons that I feel that people don't really come out, in the South. And, in the South, we have more elites in the South. We have more elites, more educated people who are supposed, to be at the forefront. But what I have seen in time past is that a whole lot of them do not just come out to vote. Even when you go plead that they should come out to vote, most of them do not still come out to vote, just like in the last election. We had a whole lot of people that registered in Lagos, but when you look at the number of people that actually voted, it was way, 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 way too low compared to places like Kano that almost had similar kind of people that have registered to vote, So I think it's just majorly due to the fact that people are just scared, of losing their life, because violence might just erupt, and they are scared that they might get injured, or there might be some form of intimidation, for you to vote for a particular candidate. So in order to avoid that, so people would prefer to stay in their house.
During elections, is there anything like the law enforcement agencies, the government deploying the law enforcement agents to be around all the polling centers? Is there anything like that?
Yes, usually in Nigeria, they usually deploy the law enforcement, the police, the civil defense, and sometimes the military. And I think they only deploy the military to hotspots, to places that maybe there has been some form of violence in time past, so the military are usually deployed to those areas, But when you look at the military strength, when you look at the law enforcement strength in Nigeria, it's so low that it cannot contend with if there are violences erupting in all of the states in Nigeria. Let's say violence is erupting in Kano, is erupting in Kaduna, is erupting in Adamawa, in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, and all of that. So the law enforcement is being stretched as a result of that. So those are one of the reasons why people will just want to just stay in their house, and not want to come out to vote. But I still feel that this election is really going to be very, very different, because people are tired of the last 8 years. The last 8 years in Nigeria has been so horrible. It has been, in terms of economy, zero. In terms of security, I mean, so many people have been kidnapped. There have been so many insurgency in the northeast, which I know that you're probably aware about that. And there's kidnapping in the south. There's a whole lot of insecurity in Nigeria, and the government of the day has not, in my own opinion, has not really done what I expect them to have done. Despite the fact that we have an ex-military general as the president, I would have expected that he should have been able to attack this, since he has the military experience, he has war experience. He has, strategies on how to secure the territorial integrity, of a nation. So, but the present administration has really done next to nothing on security as far as I'm concerned. In terms of economy, I mean, the economy has really gone bad. There's high unemployment rate. You know, the inflation figures are climbing day by day. And to cap it off, presently there is cash shortages in Nigeria. I mean, so there are a whole lot of the few friends that I've spoken to in Nigeria. I mean, there's a whole lot of anger in them that they want to come out en masse to vote. I mean, we should not also forget that the ruling class has candidates like Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is a candidate that you cannot relegate in this election. You cannot, because he has governed a state like Lagos in time past, and he has done well. I mean, I will give it to him in terms of increasing the IGR of Lagos. He has really done a lot. Even when the then president refused to give him, you know, the allocation due to the states, but he still managed the states efficiently, you know, even if I still feel that he should have done more for Lagos, you know, at a time when he was the governor, you know, of Lagos. But you can't take that from him. Somebody that grew, you know, the IGR from a meager sum to about 5 billion monthly. I mean, you should give it to him. I mean, if he gets to the national level, he would be able to translate what he has done in Lagos, you know, to Nigeria. But my own fear about Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is just the fact that, you know, he's popularly referred to as the Jagaban. You know, I mean, I'm scared that he might, you know, want to monopolize, you know, Nigeria just like he did in Lagos. You know, so because yes, he has been the kingmaker in Lagos. No other political party has been able to defeat, you know, the present, you know, APC in Lagos. And you know, he has always been the one that has, you know, probably, yeah, it brings succession. I mean, succession in government is actually very good, you know, but when it's tending towards godfatherism, you know, that's where I have an issue with, you know. So, but when you also talk about the other candidate, Atiku Abubakar, Atiku Abubakar too has always been there, and you know, during his own time, it was said that he actually privatized a whole lot of, and he sold it to his friends. You know, that's the news that we actually have at our disposal. So those are one of the fears that people are having. But when you talk about Obi during his own tenure, actually, you know, liberated the educational system in Anambra, and he was also prudent in the sense that, you know, he was very courteous. He never owed any contractor, you know, during his own tenure. I mean, and he also he left surplus, you know, for the state while he was living. So you can also take that from him. We need somebody like that in Nigeria who can, you know, stem our borrowing, you know, and focus on, you know, production, and, you know, focus on empowering our youth, you know, and focus on infrastructural development, and, you know, and all of those. So that's why there's a whole lot of divide across Nigeria about, you know, the candidates. So each of those candidates, to me, have, you know, a high chance of winning this election.
Tomo, just some few minutes for us to end this meeting.
Okay.
Considering the ages of
three candidates: Mr. Tinubu, 70 years old, Mr. Abubakar, 76 years old, and Mr. Obi, 61 years old. Do you think Nigerians are going into this this election with the mindset of voting or choosing somebody in terms of age?
Okay, so talking about the age of the candidates, yeah, for me, the age does not really matter so far the person is agile, so far your mental capacity is still standard. I mean, we have a very old president in the United States, and he's still performing up to expectation. I mean, so for me, I do not have any issue with the age, but I think where Nigerians have issue with the age is because of the fact that one of the leading candidates looked, more or less like he had some health challenges. Um, because I have actually watched some of his campaign, and some of what he says do not really correlate. I mean, so yeah, Nigerians are actually paying a whole lot of attention on the age factor, because if you would also recall, the current president of Nigeria, while he actually spent a whole lot of time, abroad seeking medical attention. So Nigerians don't want that kind of a leader whereby the first maybe 1 year or 2 years is not physically fit for the job. So that's exactly why the age factor is also critical in this election. And that's why a whole lot of people have actually come out to say that, oh, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is not, medically fit, for the job. He's not really agile. They are saying that it is probably maybe suffering from dementia or some things. But, I can substantiate those because I don't have his medical report. So I can't say for a fact. But I've also seen in some of his campaign, I mean, this is somebody who is traveling all the 36 states of Nigeria. So I still feel he's still mentally okay or medically sound, for the job. Because if you are not, you won't be able to, to travel. You won't be able to do all those rallies. It takes a whole lot of internal energy and mental capacity to do all those. I mean, so, whichever way, people will always fall on one side of the divide. So when it comes to the age, so that is why I feel Nigerians are actually just scared, because we do not want to experience what we experienced in the last, administration, whereby the president put for medical attention, and even before General Buhari, came on board, we had Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who actually died in office. He too had, health challenges. So that's another reason why some people are of the opinion that, oh, they're actually going for Peter Obi, because to them they feel that, oh, Peter Obi is 56, is agile. I mean, I've seen him speak and I've seen him move, carry a whole lot of things, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's agile, he's strong, he's ebullient, so that's the kind of man you want for the job. Aside the fact that you want somebody who is medically fit, you also want somebody who is competent. You also want somebody who also has integrity. So integrity, to me, is also another critical thing that Nigerians are actually looking for. So I don't know if I answered your question on the age thing.
Yeah.
But I want to ask this question. You keep saying, the economy in Buhari's administration, Buhari's tenure is poor, is bad. The youth not getting job to do. That kind of rule Buhari out of the fact that he has no influence in this election by, for even his party flag bearer, Mr. Tinubu, to win.
Well, yes, Buhari is not contesting in this election. But don't also forget that he is more or less like the father of the party, of All Progressive Congress Party, as we speak, because he is the president and he belongs to APC. So that alone has given APC, some has made them lose a whole lot of points. Because when you talk about the economy, I mean, governance is all about economy. Governance is all about people. I mean, it has never, never, never happened. I mean, in the history of Nigeria that I know, that we are having shortage of cash. I mean, I watched some things online and I saw a family man, strip himself naked just because he couldn't get cash from the bank to feed his family or to pay some bills and all of that. I have never seen that, but it happened in this present, administration. I mean, one bad policy, can give a government of the day a 0% scorecard. I mean, so people are looking at those things. I mean, and it's not, to the favor of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, APC has a strong candidate in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is a strong candidate. You cannot rule that out in this election and even in the history of Nigeria. You cannot. I mean, but it belongs to the All Progressive Congress that has, done a whole lot of harm to the Nigerian, economy. In terms of obeying the rule of law, this government has disobeyed, the law than I have ever seen. Imagine the Supreme Court give a judgment and this, government will not, conform to, the judgment by Supreme Court. I mean, if any government does not uphold the rule of law, I mean, that state or that country is tending towards anarchy. I mean, and that's exactly what you see that is happening around. I mean, there's a whole lot of riots in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Benin, in, several places in Nigeria. In fact, I watched a video where in the north, they were more, I think it was Buhari, he went to do some things in the north and in a particular state, and they were stoning. I mean, imagine the citizenry stoning, I think it was the helicopter of the president as at that time. You know what I mean? So that's the level at which, the economy has gone bad. So because of this, people are like, oh, the few people that I've spoken to, they don't want to vote for APC. They're like saying, oh, okay, should we vote for PDP or should we vote for the Labour Party? But it's dicey. Yet APC has a strong candidate, but the present, government of the day that belongs to APC has really not done well. So if they had done well, it will have been, a campaign point, for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I mean, let me also say this. Throughout all the campaigns of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they have always been campaigning based on the things that he has done when he was the governor of Lagos. It's very, very difficult for them to campaign, based on what this present administration, has done. I mean, because they themselves, they come out and say, oh, this administration has done well. But inside of them, the spokesperson of APC, they know that this administration has not really done anything. So that is why some people are like saying, oh, they want to vote for Peter Obi because he actually brought freshness, into the political space, But will Peter Obi win? That question for me, I don't think I can answer the question until after the election.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything like, political songs in Nigeria by various parties to send their ideas across ahead of the election, similar to how we hear songs by parties before and during elections in Ghana? Is there anything like that?
Is there anything like what?
Like songs, political
songs in Nigeria by the political parties to send their message or ideas across, like similar to how you hear in Ghana how politicians or even the political parties use songs to carry their messages across. Is there anything like that in Nigeria?
Well, I don't think there is, as far as I know, but I just know that in some of the adverts for their campaigns, they actually incorporate some music there, some songs whereby they convey what they want to do. And they say, oh, if you vote for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, he's going to do so and so on infrastructure, he's going to do so and so, on the economy. And same thing for Labour Party, same thing for, Atiku. More or less like they just employ some musicians to compose some song just for the advert purpose. So I don't know if that's exactly what you mean. But if that's what you mean, yeah, they have that to convey, whatever it is that they want to do when they get to power.
All right, so
thank you very much, Mr. Omo, for your time and this opportunity. Thank you very much. I certainly hope Nigeria will come to a very peaceful conclusion that there is the leader, there is the person we want, without any chaos, without any fear in the people, just like what you were saying in the southern sector. Just hope that everything ends peacefully and fair in this election. So thank you very much for your time, and
thank you so much for having me. It is my own hope as well too that the election is going to be free, is going to be fair, and whoever emerges, as the president, they should have the country at heart. They should have the people at heart, because the most important planet on earth is the human resources. Whatever position you find yourself, make people happy, give them policies, that will, enrich their life, better their life. And the interesting thing is that most of the politicians that we have in Africa, in Nigeria, most of them actually schooled in developed world, in the US. They've seen the way things are done. But why is it difficult for them to translate what they've seen, in Africa? But we hope that, this present election is going to bring freshness, is going to bring newness, is going to bring, a whole lot of help, for the people. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much.